Earth is home to many creatures. Some may even consider a few of them monsters. But what of those more elusive and hidden creatures? The ones we just can't seem to find. Welcome to Monday Morning Monsters. Cryptozoologist and paranormal researcher Barnaby Jones talks about the unknown, mythical, undiscovered, and unidentified creatures from around the world, and the people who have seen them, look for them, and research them. Hear from witnesses about their encounters, as well as renowned names in the field about their work and research. Barnaby is the founder and lead investigator for Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society based in Wisconsin. Caps travels across Wisconsin and beyond looking for connections between different phenomena and how they can all be connected. Now, your host of Monday Morning Monsters, Barnaby Jones.
Good morning, monsters. It is a lovely day here in Wisconsin. We have an amazing guest with us. I want to get him right up as soon as we can. But first, I want to tell you, guys, our new episode of On the Trail of Undiscovered Beasts on Paraflix airs this Friday. If you guys have not subscribed to Paraflix, it is a all paranormal streaming platform, paranormal and cryptid and all kinds of stuff. It is only $3.99 a month to subscribe, and you get all kinds of their cool stuff. If you use promo code CAPS10, you get 10% off your first 3 months. And this week we are going to Rhinelander on the episode again, and we're going to be meeting with this guy who had a Bigfoot come on his property and steal a trash can off his deck and take the trash over to the side yard and sort it. So this is a very interesting encounter, and we do an investigation of his property, and you don't want to miss this. So this is this Friday exclusively on Paraflix. Our still first event coming up next is going to be the Frogman Festival in Ohio. So that is in March. That's the next time you guys can catch us out there in the wild. And then that brings us, everything else is after that. So we won't be out very often until then, but that's where we're going to be. So guys, we have a comment section on whatever platform that you are watching. So if you have any questions, comments throughout the show, we encourage you to leave them over there, and we will try and address them in a prompt manner and get those up here. So without any further ado, I want to bring up our guest on today's show. You guys probably know him best from the hit TV show Expedition Bigfoot. My guest, Ronny LeBlanc.
Hey, Barnaby. How are you, man? Good to see you.
I am doing great, Ronny. How are you?
Good.
Awesome.
Regular Monday.
You were out at a 2-day convention this weekend. How'd that go?
It's coming up this weekend, actually. It's in Trenton, New Jersey, and it's a fun. I've always been involved like music scene and I was in a punk band back in the day in Southern California. So doing this punk rock flea market at the Cure Insurance Arena is going to be pretty fun. There's a bunch of live bands, food trucks. They're doing like live tattoos. So it's a good shopping experience for Christmas. It's something different.
Very cool. I misread that. I thought that this was this past weekend.
Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah.
So that's in New Jersey then, right?
Yeah, Trenton, New Jersey on December 10th and 11th.
Very cool. So if you're in the area, go check that out. So for those of you, hopefully nobody on my listening thing doesn't know who you are, but for those of you who don't know who you are, can you give a little background of who you are, what you do?
Sure. So Ronny LeBlanc, and I'm from the East Coast in Massachusetts, and I'm from an area called Leominster, Mass, which is the birthplace of Johnny Appleseed, and it's also an area in Leominster that's called Monsterland, and that's what I wrote about in my first book, my second book, and it's an area that has had a long history. There it is. It's it's had a very long history of a lot of strange stuff and everything that you covered, Barnaby, with paranormal, people seeing Bigfoot type creatures, orbs, these orange orbs, as well as a lot of UFOs, which is really kind of drew my interest, seeing that there was some correlation between a lot of this stuff happening in the same vicinity and also the same timing. And this led me to put together a podcast that I was doing with Maddie Blake for a little while from Curse of Oak Island. And we talked about this area, talked to other researchers, and that kind of, I guess, put me on the radar when Expedition Bigfoot was looking to replace RPG, one of the researchers that the first couple of days in Oregon got hit with what he believes, and I do too, infrasound, which really got him to a point where he was unable to even walk from reports with Maria and Russ. They had to carry him out. And so that kind of got me started at all this. And it's just been, 4 years now. It's been a whirlwind. We're about to release season 4, hopefully next month. We don't have an official date, but it's right around the corner. So it's been wild.
Very cool. Yeah. So we all know, I mean, I think, like I said in the beginning, most people that, know who you are probably is from Expedition Bigfoot. So I wanted to, like I said, we have questions and stuff and comments section. If you have anything that you'd like to ask Ronnie, we'd love to have that question on the air, and we'll save that for like the second half of the show. But I wanted to give you the first half here to talk about your book, because like I said, here it is. And I was not aware, because when I got this from you, you only had this one. So you have
Correct.
A second book out.
I do, yeah. And it's a white cover with blue eyes, and it's kind of like the next phase of that experience and what's been happening over the past few years, just in my life, but also what's been going on in the world of Bigfoot and UFOs. And it's been I think a spiritual experience as well, which has been pretty fascinating. A lot of people talk about that from the UFO side and the Bigfoot side, that they're having this spiritual experience, whether it's bringing them close to understanding nature or having them go down, that rabbit hole of where do we come from, where do we go. I think those basic mysteries and questions that we all have about life and reality in general.
Very cool. Very cool. So I got the chance to read your book. We were supposed to have you on earlier, but unfortunately you got sick. So I'm glad that we got you rescheduled and everything.
Yeah,
so I read it a while ago, so I might not be up on everything in it anymore. But it really surprised me because, like obviously from Expedition Bigfoot, we know that you're probably one of on the show more of the like oddball, shall we say, like you're more not the ape
right.
philosophy, but the more out there stuff. And that's good because it brings that side. Maria's fantastic with the primatology and the research and, having the discovering of other primates and stuff on the show. And you have that very solid, down to earth, grounded side. And then you have, Russ that goes out there on his own and very, able to go off and track and research in that. And then you bring this very interesting dynamic to it. So when I read the book, I was thinking, that it was going to be more Bigfoot oriented. And I was really surprised to see that there's a lot more in there. And obviously from your area where you grew up and stuff in Leominster, right? And so that's really interesting. I know I slaughtered that because you said it differently. That's how I've always heard it pronounced. So I'm sorry.
Yeah. Leominster. It's all good.
Leominster. Yeah. Okay. Right. So it's fascinating, like the different sides and so much more to this book, as far as the UFOs and the orbs, like you had said. So let me ask you this. Why do you think, or do you think, why do you think that these things are more than just flesh and blood?
I think, for just speaking from personal experience, that alone, there's something else going on. These things behave and interact with us like the shadow type experiences, the glowing eyes, and working with Dr. Rebecca Foster, for example, a psychic medium. It's interesting when I talk to psychic mediums, I always ask them, what do they think Bigfoot is, Sasquatch is? And they tell me with the utmost certainty and confidence that they are interdimensional. And I've experienced this, but also if you look at previous researchers, Janet and Colin Bard, there's a bunch of different researchers that were looking at this as an ape, as an unclassified species of primate. But then they just started noticing some strangeness that was coming along with this activity. And you look at documentation done by Stan Gordon, Silent Invasion, about Pennsylvania, and that time period where people were seeing UFOs, but they were also seeing Bigfoot creatures showing up in that same time period. And we have different stories. When I do presentations, I talk about some of these older cases of, the 1800s of Native Americans bringing, settlers over, explorers over to show them these crazy bears that are living in the caves, sitting cross-legged in the meditation type pose and all this stuff, and that they come down from the moons. And so this stuff's been going on for a long time, but also what the Native Americans believe that they are. They do believe that they are a people, but there are certain tribes that believe that they have that 1 foot in the spiritual realm, 1 foot in the physical world, and they can pop in and out. And I do believe that's what's happening with the UFO phenomena, where they have this ability to kind of pop in and out. And there's just been all these different odd things that have happened and gone along with that. And I'm not afraid to kind of take that, like you pointed out, Dr. Maria has that grounded scientific lane or path that she's taking. So I feel great that we have that covered. Let me go to the wacky side of it. Let me go to the high strangeness side of it, because it continues to occur, and it's part of the fabric of this mystery and the story. And what has happened in the past, what I've seen, is that it's been dismissed and pushed aside. UFO researchers will dismiss some of the cryptid stuff, and vice versa. Researchers that are out looking for Bigfoot will experience these orbs seemingly in the same areas that this activity is occurring, and some of them will dismiss it, or a lot of this high strangeness is left out of BFRO reports. And I do feel like we need a better or a more integrated reporting system where we can take UFO encounters, Bigfoot stuff, all this. And I bet you we would see a lot more of these correlations and hidden dots if we started to look at that data.
I would definitely have to agree with you on that. That there's a lot of crossover, and that's, like you said, you have, the Expedition Bigfoot team has the different sections of what you believe and where your focus is, and that's the same way that CAPS is. Each member of our team focuses on a different area. So when we go out to an investigation, we can work on that with this different viewpoint for each investigator. That's very important to have. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think you need to have an open mind too, because I think the reason why, hey, we're discovering new species all the time, right? Scientists are rediscovering species that were seemingly extinct. And I do think that's a bit more of laziness by going, yep, they're not here, they're dead, but they show up because they never were extinct in the first place. But I think the reason why, if we're continuing to look for Bigfoot as seemingly just complete physical being, science has been doing that, and we have not been able to, I think, get over that hump. We're collecting amazing eDNA evidence, hair, footprints. These things are leaving impressions. They're being seen in the physical form, but they're also disappearing before people's eyes. I have reports of people experiencing something that's invisible, that they can feel walking towards them through the ground in the wintertime. They can hear gurgling and breathing sounds, and then they have a dog that's with them that's reacting that there is something there, and then they're overcome with fear and they take off. To other researchers that have actually seen Bigfoot creatures in Leominster State Forest, watched them, one of them in particular, walk away several years ago and start to vanish from the hand all the way up to the body until it almost was covered up, almost like the Predator movie, where it just went invisible. And my wife has had an experience right near our new house, literally 100 yards down the road, where something 7 to 8 feet tall came out of the woods and came across the road, that she slammed the brakes on the truck for fear that she was going to hit a person, and then witnessed this tall being that she could actually see through, that had almost static electricity where the body was, and walked in the woods and just disappeared. So we have this strangeness happening all the time, and you have researchers like Scott Carpenter, and I'm not sure if he's still doing this, who's from Tennessee, but he was encountering some paranormal activity happening in his home and near his neighbor's house, where 8 type creatures are looking in their windows, so they're calling the police. So he's at the point where he's like, I got to stop doing this because there's something else going on with this. How are they able to enter your house? And, you know, one thing I talk about in the book, which was an experiment for me, but also just, I think, proves the point that there's something else going on here, is if you remember the whole marble story, when I had interviewed Mike Patterson, and I was skeptical. I talked to him for several hours. I've seen the videos, I've listened to the audio, and there's a lot of question, you know, is he this scrupulous character and making this up? And you have 2 different sides, and he kind of falls into that Todd Standing, those buckets. But I will say this, very genuine talking to him, and then actually trying this experiment where he's been receiving these marbles, okay, that are coming from these creatures. And I talk about in the book, and have a whole chapter where I interview him and then experiment to see if I can get them. And I did. I got 3 different marbles. And within a course of a short period of time after I asked to see them. So, you know, when you have these type of things happening, and I'll mention one more, which I always find really fascinating, is a friend that lives in just in the outskirts of Leominster State Forest near Monsterland, was encountering these lights, these drones, as he would call them, flying closer and closer to his property, that they were actually starting to get close to the window. They felt like somebody was trying to look in at his house. And he called the local police, who came out, and they were talking at night, because he said he's going to shoot one of these down if they don't come here and take care of this. So as the police officer is there taking his report, a light starts to come towards his property. He goes, here comes one right now. And the police officer pulls out the flashlight, and this object that was the size of a door, shaped like a diamond, flew over them, and the police officer had the flashlight on it, did not make a sound, flew over the roof of his house. And the police officer was like, that's not a drone, man. And goes on to tell him about him experiencing these UFOs in the area right down the road, and watching them, and how he's had these experiences his entire life. So he's telling my friend this, and I just find that there's no coincidences where, you know, this guy that's had these lifelong UFO reports might have been the reason why they sent him down to the report, say, hey, there's a guy that's seeing the things that you see, go check it out. But when my friend told me this about what he had experienced, I said, I want you to do a thought experiment and go out in your backyard and project, say it out loud, send it with your mind, that you want to find out who's behind these lights that keep on coming near your property. So like, okay. And he did this for about 3 or 4 days in a row, went out there at night, projected like I asked him to do. And he typically gets up at 5 in the morning. This was in the summertime a few years ago. He couldn't sleep. People wake up 3 a.m., 3:30. He was restless, and he felt this need to kind of just go outside. Typically moves the water sprinkler around the front yard, and was positioning it, and felt like he was being watched. Complete darkness. He turns and he sees this creature peek from behind a telephone pole, and they make eye contact. And this thing runs on 2 legs across the road and a couple of steps, and jumps over a stone wall. he hears a couple more footsteps and thing stops, and then he knows the thing is just turned and looking at him, and he ran inside the house. And his best description was like, this was a hunchback chimpanzee running on two legs. And I said, you know, isn't it interesting, after you did this experiment for 4 days, a Bigfoot shows up on your front lawn, basically. So again, it's just another example of how is that possible? There's a connection there. There's something to do with, you know, people talk about mind speak with Bigfoot and telepathy. Same thing with UFOs and aliens and that world. So there's a lot of different similarities and connections to this, and how they communicate, whether that's just how more evolved beings are communicating. But I just find that fascinating. So it's hard for me to not continue to go down this path to find out what's behind the curtain, because there's more and more surprises as we keep on trying to look.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. So you brought this up, and I wasn't going to say anything unless you did. But I'm a very honest person. I don't make up stories. I don't exaggerate and stuff. So take this for what it is. Mm-hmm. I live alone, and last night I was walking down my stairs. I have a 2-story house. I'm walking down from my upstairs to downstairs, and I stepped on something on the floor in my living room right at the bottom of the stairs.
Did you step on a marble?
I do not,
dude. See,
I do not know where this came from. I do not have marbles in my house. I mean, I just put up all my Christmas stuff. There's nowhere where this would have come from, and it's a blue. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah,
it's a blue, like I think they're called cat eye marbles.
Beautiful.
And as soon as I picked it up,
check it out, blue cat eye. I don't know if I get my correctly. It's a blue tiger, blue cat eye. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but I have no idea where it came from, and I picked it up, and the first thing I thought of was Ronnie's going to be on the show on Monday. Doesn't he talk about something about a marble? I'm going to put this up in the office, and I don't know, but that's that weird.
Do.
Yeah.
What I would do is I would ask for another one, and that's what I was like, because I was so skeptical. I was like, come on, you know, and you know, from the book, but so I asked for it again, and I got another one, and then I got another. So that's the one thing when I talk to people, you know, I'm like, I explain what happened and everything, and even my wife initially, she was like, what the heck? But my friends would be like, but when was the last time you actually found a marble? Like, we don't have marbles, we don't have bags of marbles around, you know, and to have something like that right in your path that you step on it, I think is pretty wild.
There's no way it could have like fallen out of anything or shown up. It was right at the bottom of the stairs, like I stepped on it, where I step every single day. And there's no reason for this stupid marble to be there.
See,
but
so
yeah.
I mean, I look at that stuff, that there is something going on behind the scenes. There's somebody or something or a bunch of things orchestrating, because how could the timing of that, when I was supposed to do your show a month ago, but now we do it this time, and then that shows up. Like,
yep, I didn't find a marble.
That's
then.
Awesome. That's incredible.
It's 100% true. Don't know where it came from. I don't have like a bag of marbles or anything, so I have no idea where it came from.
But see, I love. Thank you for sharing that too, because a lot of people are afraid to say something and go, not gonna believe me, you know, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But if more and more people start realizing, like, holy crap, I got something like a rock or something before that was left for me that I, you know, things that aren't, you know, typically just happenstance. There seems to be some kind of directive behind it. So I find that awesome.
That's a synchronicity, is what that is. Because if I would have found if I would have found the blue marble any other day, I'd been like, oh, it's
Right.
a blue marble, and I would have chucked it somewhere.
No
But I picked it
significance,
up,
right?
and you were the first person I thought of, and I'm like, that's really weird. That's really weird. So
Love
yeah.
it. Love it.
Oh
And
man.
see, that's fascinating. And you
Mhm.
know, like again, too, we're talking about Bigfoot, but we have this high strangeness aspect to it, which is pretty cool.
Mhm. So you were talking about having like these orange orbs, right,
Yeah.
in the woods. So one of my first experiences up with we do an area in Upper Michigan that we do a lot of investigating. And one of the first investigations up there, we actually captured a blue, about basketball size orb.
Hmm. Wow.
And I'm sitting across from the property owner under this carport, and I have a thermal imager up. And from behind it's behind the thermal imager, this orb comes out of and goes off into the woods. So I saw it as this blue basketball size orb in the woods, and on the thermal imager, it does not show up hot or cold, but it shows up like a soap bubble. It's a
Hmm.
round distortion of movement on the thermal, but it
Wow.
doesn't show any heat signature. So
Interesting.
what in your research and stuff, what do you think these things are? Why is there this energy ball?
It's been surmised that these are vehicles, transportation vehicles in a way. You know, Melinda Marquand, I believe is her name. She has taken photography of these orbs and zoomed in, and there's faces like
Hmm.
elves and like I mean, just there's things inside these things, and there's history and talk of shamans having this ability to transform themselves into balls of light and travel vast distances and then reappear, shapeshift. Um, there's definitely some intelligent, controlled aspect to these things. Um, they've been around for a long time. Some people may know them as Foo Fighters that
Hmm.
were, following the German and the American aircraft, and each thought it was the other technology that was monitoring these jets. Um, but what I did find is I have never seen an orange orb until I had casted a Bigfoot print and was about to be aired on Finding Bigfoot. And it was literally like 4 or 5 days before that episode was going to air. And I had two orange orbs fly over my car on my way home, coming back into Leominster from Boston. And I rolled down my window, and one, I couldn't believe that they didn't make a sound. Two, they were the size of basketballs. And three, one was following the other, and they looked like suns. Like there was like molten lava looking stuff swirling around in these things, and they were clearly made of some substance. And I don't know, looking at them, I got this instant, I don't want to say a download, but this notion that what I'm looking at isn't from around here per se, and it's not something that everyone's going to see. There's something special about it, and there's some kind of intelligence behind these things. Um, One of the stories and experiences shortly after this was with Bill, who had actually found those footprints with his wife. They discovered them. We went back into the woods to the area where they had parked, where they had the experience, and we are going to walk down that trail again. And started making our way down, maybe half a mile, and just got an overwhelming feeling of get the hell out of there. You're not welcome here. And weren't really prepared. We had a couple, flashlights and stuff, but we were just kind of like, what are we, we weren't dressed the right way, but we were just going to go check it out. But we swung around and headed back to that parking lot and just started talking and stuff. And then Bill had pointed to a particular mountain, and you could see the outline. He was like, "That's where we need to go. That ridge over there. Like people don't go all the way up to that point. I bet you there's something hanging out there." Maybe 30 seconds later, it's darkness. At the corner of my eye on the left, this light just came on, And I turn and I see this orange orb starting to make its way in the sky towards the mountain. And I'm like, I hit Bill. I'm like, what are you seeing right now? It's like an orange orb, ball of light. And we watch this thing head to the mountain, and we're literally holding our breath, like just like stunned. And I can still play it back in my mind. It was pretty epic. This thing went through the forest, and it could have been bigger than a basketball, because what it did as it started to go into the forest, it illuminated the forest and the trees as it went through. And it was like, we were like, holy, right where Bill had pointed, literally, this ball of light hovered over and went into the ground. And we both just were like, let's get out of here. Because I got the instant mental image of something coming from that orb and running up towards us. That's what I got. And I didn't know if that was real or not, or if that's just your mind going there, but that's what I got. And it was like, get the heck out. And so this kind of stuff continued, where we had another time we were speaking at the New England UFO conference, and I was putting together the presentation and what we're going to talk about. And I said, we really need to focus on these orange orbs because there's some connection with Bigfoot. And I started finding through my research, these other researchers over the years experienced the same thing, like Autumn Williams and others. And Bill got this overwhelming sense to stand up and was kind of like, I need to go outside. And he felt drawn to go outside. And I was like, all right, want to get some fresh air, And we walk out my house and we look up, and there's 3 orange orbs hovering in the sky by my house. And all the kids had come out, and I was literally just watching the video this morning of this, where you can hear the kids, and they're just hovering, bright orange. And when you're looking through the video, it looks like they're white, but they're in a triangle formation hovering. And it was like they beckoned Bill to come outside, So, and they eventually, as we sat there for about 3 or 4 minutes, boom, disappeared, like they just shut off and just vanished. And, I always thought too, what is the significance of the marbles? Why the marbles? Is it a correlation to the orbs? Is it that kind of, a hint maybe of what those might represent? I think it has something to do with that for sure. And it could be something else altogether. But I think there's some significance in the marble and orbs and this stuff. But again, it's I think if more and more researchers start sharing the oddness and all this kind of stuff, the juicy stuff that Charles Fort used to put together, I think those are going to help us, I think, find some of the answers where we've been running in circles trying to figure out, in my opinion.
Definitely. I find that, when you do these investigations, I can't remember who was talking about this, but they said, ask all the weird questions. Let the witness talk as much as they want, and when they stop, wait for them to continue, because you don't know what else is going to come out of there. You need to ask the questions that nobody else is asking, like, what did you have for breakfast? And just completely unrelated questions for most people, with these Bigfoot encounters or any of these encounters, because you're talking a lot about Bigfoot and the UFO connection and stuff. But I just had my brain doesn't work in the morning. Joshua Cutchins on my show. Oh
yeah, awesome.
And he's fabulous, and he talks about the connection with the Fae and UFOs and Bigfoot. Yeah. And there's so much linkage there as well. And for anybody listening, go back and listen to his episode. But
yes,
yeah. Go ahead.
Bigfoot is an elemental, like the Fae, like the fairies, So there's definitely a lot of different correlations of what we would call elves would be considered gray aliens, and so there's a lot of similarities in this stuff. But to your point, talking to witnesses, I think it's important to also, ask the right questions, but something that, me even just sharing that story triggered you to tell me about the finding the marble, where you talk, maybe if I said, hey, have you found anything weird? And you'd be like, no, you might dismiss it. But the fact that I brought that up maybe triggered. So I find that happens to me a lot where I'm talking to somebody or what have you, and it might just be, I don't know why, but it pops in my head to say something or a certain word, where, and it kind of goes, oh, you just remind me of me. And I don't know, I'm not doing it consciously, but it seems to happen like that there's, again, this interconnected web of consciousness and information, and synchronicities are those ways of confirming that, whether it's, hey, it's safe to tell this guy what I experienced because he had just explained something similar, or it might be something that, oh my God, we were just talking about that this morning, what you just said. Like, that's so random. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Just, so I always find that fascinating. And I think the consciousness piece, when it comes to UFOs and Bigfoot, that's the big piece. I mean, we always think I always find it fascinating. Some people are like, hey, I believe in aliens, but Bigfoot, I just can't do it. I'm like, what if Bigfoot's an alien? They're like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. But we kind of go to that place where it's like, aliens just look like this, but you could have 300 different types, and half of them could look more like animals that we have in the forest that resemble some of these beings. So I think there's I'm excited because I'm hoping and I'm expecting us to experience and see and learn a lot more in the next 5-10 years around all this stuff.
Definitely. It seems like it's a lot less taboo to talk about a lot of the stuff now, and people are opening up more and more about their experiences and the weirder experiences as well.
Yeah. One of the craziest experiences I had, and I'm glad my wife was with me. This was a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, at our old house before we were moving here on Elm Street near Monsterland. People have described seeing dragons right in the sky, or these strange spectral type creatures. And we saw, for lack of a better term, an enormous red dragon the size of a bus, I swear to you, and a green one about the same size, flying through the air like they're underwater, like swimming like dolphins, moving across the sky right over our house. And we were just jaws dropped, like, what are you seeing this? Like, and I had this, whenever I see, like, if this is an orb that would be coming through, this one thing I've learned is typically there's more that are following that same path or trajectory. If you wait a few minutes, 5-10 minutes, you'll see others come. So we started waiting, and within a minute, a green ball of light, spinning almost like a disco ball type thing, started following that same path, following them. Then this bluish white one was following a short distance after. And finally, we're just stunned watching this. And my wife finally gets her phone out and starts filming. And that last one comes, and it's moving like these are organic beings or some kind of life form, that they're not necessarily a craft that we're seeing or what we witnessed. We saw things that seem to be alive, and people have postulated that, let me just say for us, and I believe this, I mean, that there's a portal of some sort where these things are coming in and out of, because people have just been seeing the strangeness and this stuff happening for a long time. And more recently, it seems to be upticking all over the world.
Mm-hmm. So that's crazy. Like, yeah. I mean, I believe you, because I wasn't there. I didn't see it, but have you ever seen or heard the stories of these like flying manta ray creatures?
No, but I would kind of put it in that same category. I mean, it was just the weirdest it looked like something that you would see in the ocean that was up in the sky.
Yeah.
Like it just did not compute. And probably the most incredible thing I've ever seen, aside from the shadow with Maria, having that cloaking experience from the show. Those two things are up there as like, and I know there's more stuff coming down the road of experiencing and seeing things, but for now, those two are like, holy crap.
Very cool. Well, we are almost, I know you got to get going. We're almost out of time with you here. If there's any questions in the comments or anything, please get them in now so we have a little bit of time left to address them. We haven't even talked about Expedition Bigfoot at all, aside from just now. And honestly, I don't really want to, because I mean, like, most of the time, that's all you get asked about. Obviously the shadows. I know you guys were up on stage at Phenomicon, and I saw that, and I mean, people ask the same questions over and over again. I have two questions about the show that maybe you haven't gotten already, so hopefully not, or at least not as common. So when RPG got sick at the beginning of the first season, had you already been contacted by Expedition Bigfoot as like a stand-in, or they just sprung it on you and said, "Hey, show up"?
I got a phone call from one of the producers through a connection through Maddie that knew him, and just said, "Hey, we just had this crazy thing go down. Do you know of anybody?" And she's like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "My podcast partner." And then also Bryce was looking through his contacts, and Gimlin brought my name up. So there was a short list, which I was blown away by. And then getting that phone call, and we talk about synchronicity. A week prior to this, I told my wife I was done doing this. I said, I've been doing this for a while, and it was just kind of like taking away from my job or family and stuff. It became more of an obsession, and I was kind of like, I need to kind of like take a break, right? And I literally said this out loud to her, and I was like, I'm done. And that next week I get the phone call, and she looks at me like, "You have to go." She's like, "This is the universe, like millions of people, and they call you, like, what the heck?" So within 24 hours, I was on a plane to Oregon without knowing anybody, not knowing where I was going. Had started a new job months prior, and they graciously gave me the leave of absence. But when I came back, I didn't have that job anymore. So it just kind of created this whole. It's been a blast, but it's also been a spiral of uncertainty of what next, because you're trying to balance real life, and you're also trying to make this work. And when you have a new show, you're not making money that you can just quit your day job, unfortunately. And everyone still is in that scenario where they're still working their regular jobs and trying to make this work. And hopefully we're getting close to that point where the show continues to grow and be more successful, that will stick around.
Definitely. And like you said, being a new show, you don't know if it's going to be 2 seasons, 3 seasons, or just the first one. So you're banking a lot on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so everyone's putting their heart and soul into this, from the crew to every member of the team. So, I'm proud with what we're getting out there for evidence and what we're compiling. And I think when we're all done, and hopefully we make some leaps and bounds in these next few years, but if not, I think that we'll have put together a pretty impressive list of evidence that we've gathered over that course of time. So that's the main thing. It's, just getting the work and piling it up so it's undeniable when you look at the whole lot of the evidence that we've put together.
Definitely. So when you go out in the woods for the show and stuff, obviously, there's you're not really too worried about Bigfoot as far as like, attacking or whatever like that. But there's other animals and stuff out there.
Oh yeah.
When you're on the show, I think I've asked this to the Finding Bigfoot as well, but you don't have any like weaponry out there for protection, do you?
We don't. And I've had my license to carry concealed weapon in Massachusetts since I was 16. So I've had that for 32 years. I'm 48. I would prefer to have a gun on me just for that, because you do have big cats, you have bear, you have other animals that will mess you. And we haven't had that until this last. So we did film in Alaska, which I kind of hinted is right around the corner where we're getting not the official, but we're being hinted that it's coming right pretty soon here, the release of season 4, which we did in Alaska. We did have to bring on bear guards because of the grizzlies and everything. So they had we had a bear guard in the front with a shotgun, and we had someone in the back with a 45 that would protect not only us but our crew, because they're constantly filming, walking backwards, looking straight ahead, and they have their blind sides on either oar. So that was a safety precaution that just it was. We wouldn't be able to do it unless we had that in play, because I think everyone's safety was the utmost importance going into the areas that we were going to, which was pretty unforgiving territory. I wouldn't be interested in going back. Let's put it that way.
That's impressive for people who do bigfooting for a living to tell them, well, I don't want to go back there.
It's beautiful, but man, it was treacherous and again, beautiful. But if I had to choose again, I'm like, people will see when the season comes out. We got chewed up and spit out. We got some amazing things that people are going to be excited about, but also they'll see how brutal it could really be out there. And we're only out there for a month, where people living there off the grid, all the time. It's tough living, that's for sure.
Very cool. So I just want a yes or no question or answer, because I know you can't say any more. So we had the whole shadow thing on the, you know what I'm talking about. On the last season. Is there going to be anything, in your opinion, that is similar to that you got up in Alaska?
I wouldn't say something that was maybe that kind of mind-boggling, because it kind of, for me, it was like, all right, here's evidence of cloaking. Tell me what else this could be. We have some really amazing stuff, and I can't share about, but for me, that experience, I was just like kid in the candy store, just so stoked that happened. And again, I've told everyone, and this is truthfully, like if I were to say I'm not doing the show anymore, I'm done, that I would be happy that I at least got that piece of evidence that kind of fits into my wheelhouse, but just kind of helps to prove that there's something else going on here. Maybe we're talking about two different things that we think are one, but I think they're both the same.
Very cool. All right, we're coming up on the end here. One last really quick question. How many people do we see like you and Maria and Russ, and then Russ's camera guy there. So do you have the production crew out there with you when you're in the woods, or is it just like, I'm envisioning that you each just have like one camera person?
You're breaking up a little bit there.
Yeah,
but,
you were too. Do you,
my
question is,
camera
how many
person,
people are out there with
sometimes
you?
Sometimes a shooter, producer, or a camera guy so we just have one camera guy with me, one with Maria. So if we're together, we'll have two. There's always a medic within, that's close by at headquarters. So we have to have safety protocol. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, when filming is done, it never ends for us, because we have to go back to the tent and we have our cameras. So if anything goes down while we're sleeping or out, and there's times we'll pop out and we'll go walk around, check out camp, no one's around, seeing what's going on with cameras and trying to film. And there's other times that we're so spent from hiking all day long, you're out. But I'm always a light sleeper, so constantly, like the littlest sound, you start getting used to where if you're bedding down to the same place, you get used to those sounds in the area. So you notice and will feel things that are coming into that camp that will put you on edge. So I don't think you sleep solid at any point in time, but you start getting a little bit more comfortable with knowing Oh, I start hearing, oh, there's deer coming over here. You can hear that sound. You're not worried about that. But then when you start feeling and hearing heavy footfall coming towards you, you kind of, okay. So, yeah, we try to keep a very reduced footprint when we're out there for noise, visibility, and just, what we're going through, our camera guys are going through. They're some of the baddest mother effers out there. Like they just, they're insane. I think they're crazier than us.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time very much today.
Thanks,
Can you tell everybody where you can get your books and if they want to contact you or tell you stories or any of that?
Absolutely. Both of my books are available on Amazon if you just do a search for Monsterland, Ronny, Ronny. My website, RonnyLeBlanc.com. I'll start having updated schedule for conferences and things like that are coming out. But if you're interested in getting an autographed copy of the book, there's a link on the website. You can send me a note, as well as any social media, at Author Ronny on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I look forward to your new season. I always watch that right away. And I look forward to seeing you again out there in the field.
For sure. Looking forward to seeing you soon. And thanks again for the opportunity to come on. And hopefully see you. I'm sure I'll see you at several conferences this year because I know a few of them that will be hanging out together.
Yep. East Tennessee, I think. Again.
Yes,
East
sure.
Tennessee.
Yes.
Yep. I will see you then, man.
Barnaby.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on. Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Barnaby. Ronny LeBlanc, Expedition Bigfoot. He's got to go. He has to pick up his daughter from work. And so just want to say thanks for everybody that watched. And yeah, East Tennessee Paracon will be, I think, the next event in March that me and Ronny will both be at, as well as Russell Accord from Expedition Bigfoot. So the three of us will all be down there. And Turtle Man will also be at that event, and a ton of other people. So that is late March or April, I believe. So Frogman is still the next one that we got. But well, that's it for this week's episode. Sorry it was a little short, but as I said, Ronny had to go pick up his daughter, so he was gracious enough to still come on. And it's hard having live guests. It's easier to do recorded shows. But thanks for watching. Until next time, guys, I'll see you out there.
Truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.